Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and today I wanted to talk about a topic that's been on the back of my mind for quite a bit of time. We've talked about it a little bit before in regards to one of my favorite classes in Hearthstone, the most recent class in Hearthstone, the Death Knight class, and why I'm just concerned about how it keeps progressing or not progressing. We'll talk about that in a second. I wanted to give you guys a reminder, by the way, those drops that I mentioned for yesterday for the Masters Tour, one pack was for Saturday, one pack is for today. They really want to get that viewership, so you can still tune in today from 9 a.m. until it's over and unlock another Titans pack for watching for 2 hours. I only got my one pack, so yeah, that's going on. Just be aware of it if you didn't get that. And also a reminder, if you enjoy the content on the channel, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like. It helps out a ton. We're getting really darn close to 72,000 subs, so thank you guys for that. So yes, the Death Knight class, kind of middling, in the overall win rate structure, and you take a look at the top legend decks. Death Knight, not really a factor pretty much at all. Unholy Death Knight, not very popular deck these days. Blood DK, they're playable, but those are decks that have existed since day one of Death Knight, and the only new deck that's ever popped up so far is Plague DK, and it's only played a lot because it's a new archetype. It's not very good. They are buffing it in the next patch, so maybe that'll help a bit, but they're also nerfing Hollow Hound, which the deck runs, so that's not going to work out too great. The class's introduction to the game has also been very, very successful, as it was the most popular class in Hearthstone. Pretty much every single data report after it was introduced until this most recent patch, with Blood DK and Plague DK making up 9% of the, or about 10% actually, of the total play rate of decks. It's even slipping, and it's kind of, to me, the problem with the class is almost nothing has changed with it, and everything they have tried to add to it since it's been introduced has not really worked out. So as you can see, I've been a pretty big Death Knight fan. I'm nearing 2,000 wins with the class. When the class launched, it was all about the rune system, right? You have your triple blood runes, where you get your big control healing deck, which looks somewhat like this these days, with pretty much almost no new cards added to the equation. There's the odd new one, but overall the deck kind of functions the same way. There's been new additions, like for some reason I just have like an auto-generated list. You have like the Primus and things like that, Hollow Hound of course, and then you have the other runes. You have the Unholy runes, which was at one point, they've all had their turn as the best archetype for Death Knight, but you know, the triple Unholy, where you have your big payoff in Marrowgar and all of that, and Grave Strength, and then you also have the triple Frost decks, which have been, you know, at one point was the best deck in the game and one of the most powerful out there, with your Frostworm's Fury and all those type of cards. And they've even nerfed the discover bonuses with Death Knight, where you can't discover triple rune cards. There's been a bunch of stuff, but my main takeaway from Death Knight is, if you take a look at the decks that were kind of prominent with Death Knight, day one, March the Lich King, they're the same decks as the ones that are still the only playable ones. Every new archetype we've seen introduced has not worked out. If we go to Festival of Legends, what did we have introduced? We had some Death Rattle shenanigans. We had cards for Blood that work because it went to a pre-existing deck. Hand buff, which is yet to work. But yeah, the Death Rattle package, and they tried something new with the Rainbow archetype, where you would have to build around Climactic Necrotic Explosion and get this big payoff that's really not that good and has seen zero relevant play throughout of Hearthstone. And it has the problem of all the best cards for Death Knight are typically tied down by the triple rune requirement, right? So yeah, these decks have not worked out. And then we have the most recent expansion, Titans, where you're basically held down to, you got a lot of these plague cards. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of your 10 Death Knight cards are tied down to one specific archetype. And not only that, some of these cards, say Tomb Trader, require a Frost and a Holy rune, so you can't go triple in any regard unless you just take away and go triple Unholy and run the double Unholy cards. And this archetype has struggled build. And you'll note that like none of these cards, for the most part, outside of Primus, just a really strong card, has seen really good relevant meta play. And it's all tied down to, again, the triple unholy stuff. And basically the problem we have seen since the introduction of Deathlight is that not only do you kind of limit what you can do with the class by having the triple rune cards, but also when you're only given 10 cards in expansion, plus 3 in the mini set, plus whatever neutrals you can talk about, you're extremely limited on how you can build your decks. Like, we have triple blood, right? We look at the cards that were added this expansion. You can only run, like, what? You can run Eulogizer and Primus. That is it. If you were playing a triple blood deck, you really wanted to work on that, you couldn't add to it without neutrals and all that. And of course there are neutrals that work, but if I played my triple unholy or triple frost, I can't play Tomb Trader. It just really locks out deck building. The rune system itself, which I think is cool, just is not working so far in my opinion, in the regards that there's just not enough cards added to the game to give those flexible options. Because you take a look at class like Mage, right? You don't have restrictions, you just have cards. Like, you do have a whole archetype here, like the Spell School archetype, but I can run Inquisitive Creation in Secret Mage, I can run it in like a Burn Mage, I can run it in a Slow Control Mage, I can run it in all these different type of archetypes. But Deathlight, their archetypes are commonly locked behind these rune requirements. It does allow for them to make these really cool big payoff cards, but outside of that, you really can't utilize that. And then these like more medium cards become even more useless and more niche and more frustrating, where there's a bunch of cards I'd love to run in Blood DK, but I can't because it has, you know, a frost requirement, unholy, or maybe just one little thing. Like, man, I'd love to have some healing in my unholy deck, but this Death Strike's got one little blood token on it. I can't play it, and that just alters the entire way you can build a deck. And yeah, to me, it's becoming more and more apparent that Deathlight's not evolving. The class is stuck in like the March the Lich King first gear. You take a look at what the Deathlight decks look like day one, March the Lich King with these archetypes. It's barely changed. It's got more refined as people have gotten better at building decks, and there's some neutrals thrown in there and all that, but the core is the same. And it is also important to note that since March the Lich King, we haven't had a triple frost card, we haven't had a triple unholy card, a triple blood card, so the big payoffs stay the same. You still have your soul stealers, you still have your Mograines, you still have, you know, Blood Boil, Corpse Explosion. These decks all stay the same, and for a class that I really enjoy playing, I really like Deathlight, and I was really pumped for it when it came out, I'm finding myself less and less engaged with the class and have less and less reason to play it when we just take a look at Titans and all the cards. And I'm looking at my blood deck. I literally, it's all redded out. I can't do anything. And if the Plague deck isn't good enough, which it isn't, it's like the whole expansion didn't happen for Deathlight outside of like 3 or 4 cards. And it's really hard to say that for any other class where, yeah, some stuff can whiff, but at least you can put those cards into other decks and mix and match and all of that. And Deathlight's lacking it. So I still think the rune system can work, but as it stands right now, I'm becoming more and more pessimistic with it. And I am concerned about the future of Deathlight when you have so many cards are really cool and I want to play them, but when I'm limited so much with the cards that I can use, it just kind of sucks. And it's kind of frustrating that so many of my cards I just can't use in ways that I would love to use. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, how you're feeling about Deathlight. Do they need to add it to that? Maybe you can have 4 where you can have triple blood and a frost and an unholy, maybe buff the runes that you can run a bit more. I believe in testing you could run 5. You could go like triple blood and double unholy. Like maybe that's an answer. Maybe there are answers if things don't get better over time, because as it stands, it sure feels like we're just going to be looking at these 3 decks with slight alterations until they finally decide to add another triple card or somehow get a whole mix archetype to just work, which again, we have not seen in almost a year of Hearthstone. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.